Hi, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ron Guth, and tonight is one more opportunity for you to pick my brain. This is a chance for you to ask me any questions about numismatics in general, specific coins, anything that might be on your mind. If you have a question for me, please post it in the chat or the comments, and I'll be sure to pick it up and run with it. So thank you very much for being here. We've got one person in the room so far, so that's good. First, before I start on anything, I want to apologize because for the last 2 weeks, I have gone quiet. The first one, I was out of town, and I just totally apologize. I should not have scheduled it for that Wednesday night, so I'm sorry that I wasn't there. Now, last week was a different story. Last week, I tried very hard to go live using my iPhone. I've got a new iPhone 14, which is a wonderful little piece of machinery, piece of computing genius. But man, it is so difficult to try to do that. I should have set the tech up before I even, well before the 6 o'clock show, but unfortunately, I didn't. And as hard as I tried, I could not get the iPhone to work. So that's why I wasn't here last week. So I'm very sorry for that. This week, obviously, I've got a few things to talk to you about, and some of those are pretty have to do with coin collecting and numismatics. Others are personal. The first thing I'd like to announce is that as of Monday of last week, a week ago Monday, my daughter-in-law gave birth to her second son and our second grandchild, our seventh grandchild. So we now have seven grandchildren. We've got three boys, and four girls. So we're really excited about that. Although I have to say that I have a hard time remembering birthdays and that sort of thing. So they'll have to bear with me. What else has happened since then? Well, there's been the Phoenix Coin Show. There's been the PCGS Invitational Members Only Show in Vegas. And I've gotten a few reports back from those, and they seem to have done pretty well. Sharmi Harker, who is known as the Penny Lady and a good friend of mine, just posted a show report from the Phoenix show, and she looks like she had a good time. I did not make either show. Obviously, for last week, I did not make the Phoenix show because of the birth of my grandson. We were very busy for a couple days welcoming the new baby whose name is Jack to the world. So my wife and I were very busy with that. Coin-wise, the market seems to be doing pretty well. The gold and silver prices have come down a bit, and that has impacted the market. The prices for, say, generic circulated Morgan dollars and Peace dollars has come down. All the generic gold coins have come down a little bit. Not too much, but it still has an impact on the market. Also, the drop in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the other indices, that also affects the market because a lot of coin dealers are invested not only in the coin market, but also in the equities markets. So everybody feels the pinch when those things go down. It has to go with along with the wealth factor that people have. If for some reason you don't feel wealthy, you don't act wealthy. If you feel like you need to tighten the belt, so to speak, you're going to be a little more conservative about what you purchase in numismatics and anything else in your life. A lot of stuff is getting very expensive nowadays, despite the fact that the core elements of inflation are not even counted, like food, gas, and energy. Some of those things are not factored into the current inflation equation, and if they were, the inflation would be a lot higher than it actually is. That is actually being presented. Inflation is a really impactful thing that happens right now, and it's affecting coin dealers, coin collectors, everybody at all levels. So that's something to be concerned about. I did an interview with Silver Oceans, who has another great channel on here, a couple weeks ago, and it actually turned out to be his fifth most popular video of all time. So I'm really honored to have been a part of that and helped him reach that level. We got over, I believe it was 20,000 views so far. So that's really good. And in that interview, which I'll put a link to that in the comments below. And in that interview, you can actually hear me talk about what happens in an economic collapse. What are the best things to have and to hold if the economy goes to hell in a handbasket. And what I really like and what I'll recommend to all of you is that you stock up on a small amount of 90% silver coins and maybe some silver dollars and silver eagles, coins that are recognizable by pretty much anybody that's out there. Say, for instance, you need to go out and buy a dozen eggs. A dozen eggs now in our town, in our grocery store, are $7 a dozen. I think you can find them a little bit cheaper at Costco, but $7 a dozen for eggs is really a huge increase over the former price. So let's say you had to go buy a dozen eggs. And the only reason I mention eggs is because if inflation continues, all the staples will go up. Bread, eggs, whatever groceries you need to survive are going to go up. And it may come to the point, like it did in Weimar, Germany in the early 1920s, when they had a period of hyperinflation. And all of a sudden, the mark, which was the same size as a silver quarter here in America, they were 90% silver, and they didn't look like, but they had the same purchasing power as our quarter. Suddenly, things that cost a mark were all of a sudden 10,000 marks or 100,000 marks. There are coins from 1923 that actually chronicle the huge price increases that were going on during that period of hyperinflation. For instance, a pound of meat cost 10,000 marks. A pound of butter cost 10,000 marks, and so on. So this is a real thing, and it's a real possibility if we don't rein in our spending and if we don't control our debt. The point of that is, when you go to buy that dozen eggs or that loaf of bread or whatever it is that you need to buy, you better have something that people will recognize. They will not take your paper money. The paper money is backed by nothing, and the paper money will not be worth the paper it's printed on. So you better have something that people will accept in exchange to give you that dozen eggs, that loaf of bread, or that dress, or that coat, or whatever you need to buy to survive, or that gallon of gas. So, hey, Ron, Silver Oceans is on. He says, hello, Ron. Silver, I was just telling about our interview and how important it is for people to put aside some 90% silver coins, fractional coins, especially dimes, quarters, half dollars, that they can use in an economic collapse. It's going to be really important to have that sort of stuff, because there will be very little that will be barterable. Most people don't have, eggs that they can swap for bread, or bread that they can swap for eggs. They will need something of value that is recognized by most people. And most people know what silver coins are. They know what a silver dollar is. So those things will be very useful for purchasing things if the economy really gets that bad. I also want to mention that I have a second interview with Silver Oceans on Friday, so you can look forward to that. I don't know yet what Silver is going to be asking me, or it's going to be totally impromptu, but I'm sure it'll be a great interview, and I look forward to that. I also gave an interview earlier this week with Greg Bennick of the Newman Numismatic Portfolio, Newman Numismatic Portal, and he asked me a lot of questions about, how I got started in coins, some of the things that I've experienced over time. So that will also be an interesting interview. I'm not sure when that's going to be posted, but you'll be able to find that on the Newman Numismatic portal. And I suppose I ought to make a list of things that I need to do here. Hold on. So I need silver, if I can get this pen to work, silver link, NNP link. And I don't mind, linking to these other sites because it's all about education. And that's what I'm primarily interested in, is helping you become a better collector, or someone that is more confident, because the more knowledge you have, the more confident you're going to be when you go to buy and sell something. So that's why I say, if you ever have any questions, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help let you pick my brain. And if you have a question, and I always say that there is no stupid question in numismatics. Actually, there is one. There is one stupid question in numismatics, and that is the one that you didn't ask. So if you have a question, feel free to put it in the comments in the chat here and let me know if there's something I can help you with. We all started from zero. I started from zero way back in 1964, and along the way I've picked up a little bit of experience, and I can share that with you, and hopefully that will prevent you from making the same kind of goofy mistakes that I did. And sometimes mistakes in numismatics can be rather expensive. So if I can help you avoid those sort of things, that would be great. What else has happened? A couple weeks ago, actually, since the last time I was on here live streaming, actually I was introduced to it. I was introduced to Whatnot, WHATNOT.com, at the Long Beach show, and they are a platform where sellers can go on there and have live auctions. And basically, you load up a bunch of inventory, and then you start your auction. And basically, I'm talking to you like I'm talking to you right now. The nice thing about it is, instead of having to load up a bunch of pictures prior to the sale, I can actually show the coin to you using my cell phone. And it's just a really interesting venue. Just today, I had my 14th auction on there, and they're small things. First couple of ones I ran were like 30 lots. Today, I had some technical difficulties, had to end the auction earlier, so I only sold like 15 or 20 lots. But I found that it's a really good venue for selling, and I've actually been able to buy on there and resell the same coin in my own auction at a later date once the coins arrive. So it's a good venue for buying, for selling. It can be a little gimmicky. There are some people on there with mystery bags, and they also have what they call explicit language. I understand that people want to be able to talk freely while they're on running their shows, but that my style is a little bit more of maybe not more professional, but less profane. And I'm basically there to sell coins, real live coins, properly graded and properly priced. So it's been a good experience. I've had 14 auctions, as I say, and I'm trying to find the best time today to have an auction. I've had a couple at 9 a.m. I've had a couple at 2 p.m. I've had a couple at 6 p.m. on various days. I've tried every day of the week. So it's a very interesting venue. And I recommend it to you just to go check it out. It doesn't cost you anything to check it out. And I think you'll really like it. Silver Oceans makes a comment here. I was thinking of trying Whatnot. I know we talked about that at Long Beach and I wasn't interested, but I may have had a change of heart. I'll need to check it out as a prospective buyer. First, that's a great idea, Silver. I would do that. Just check it out and see what you think of it as a buyer, and that might influence you as a seller. Silver, I know you've run a couple of auctions on your own. Maybe you can tell us how many you've had and how successful you were. Uh, and his auctions have been held on YouTube as a live stream. And I watched the one you had, what, a week ago, and I thought it was a great way to do that too. It's just another way to offer coins or silver to collectors, silver stackers, anybody who's interested in things like that. We're all trying to find ways that are effective and efficient, and that are easy to use, because there are so many places to sell coins now: eBay, Facebook, YouTube, Etsy, Pinterest, whatnot now. There's just so many places to sell or buy. And we sort of have to pick and choose among all these things, which is going to be the best venue for us as a collector or as a dealer to either buy or sell. So that's really important to look at all of them. Some might work for you that might not work for me. Some might be better for you. And in that case, go for that. My view of whatnot is I can load an auction, let's say a 30 to 50 lot auction, in an hour. And the auction 50 lots will take about an hour and a half to sell. Their platform is so good about generating shipping labels, packing labels, everything you need, that it is just super easy. I can have 50 coins packaged up in about an hour and 10 minutes. So start to finish, let's say an hour to get it set up, 2 hours to run it, an hour to ship. That's what, 4 hours, and I can sell 50 coins and be done. I don't know of any other venue that is as efficient as that. So I'm going to stick with it. Like I said, I've done 14 auctions so far, and I'm looking forward to more. If you're going to be on Whatnot, come visit me on Sunday night at 6 p.m. That's California time. I'll have an auction on there, and you can check it out. I'll probably have an auction on there tomorrow and a Friday. So, I mean, it's just too simple. I mean, I have to get on there. It's too quick, too easy. So I really like it. Silver Ocean says he's had 5 auctions since December, and the sixth one will be later this month. Silver, how have you found the YouTube venue for your auctions? I mean, is it something that you're going to continue? Are you happy with it? Has it been effective for you? Neil Robertson, welcome to the channel. Good to see you again. Neil's a really good collector. I know him primarily from German coins, but he's also a very, very sharp young numismatist. And I think he's got a good question here. He said, what would you say is your most frequently used numismatic reference these days? I would say that there are two that I use a lot. And most of this goes to the sort of research that I do, the pedigree research I do for Numismatic Detective Agency. The number one resource for me is the Newman Numismatic Portal. I mentioned that earlier today, but what they have done at considerable expense, and I'm very thankful for it, is they have taken almost all the auction catalogs, old auction catalogs going back all the way to the 1800s, and they have digitized the vast majority of them, so that now you can go on to the NNP, I'll call it NNP for short, and you can find just about any old auction catalog you want. And for a researcher like me, that's a wonderful resource, because I can go in and compare images from catalogs back in the 1800s and the early 1900s that are almost as good as the digital images today. And I can say, okay, this 1807 half dollar appeared in a 1912 auction, and I can actually match it to one of the auctions that took place, last year. So it's a really wonderful resource. Another resource that I use a lot is the heritage archives. They have archives for other auctions going back to I'd say the mid 1990s. And some of the early auctions they don't have images of. They haven't been digitized yet, but what a tremendous resource. They have sold so many coins over so many years, and they've handled just about every major rarity there is. So that is another tremendous resource that I use. So Heritage, Newman Numismatic Portal, and I'll have a link to both in the comments or in the description below. I'll put ha.com as a link too. And you can go there, and it just really very impressive resources. What it's done primarily is it has eliminated the need for a library. Years ago, I used to have copies of every one of these old auction catalogs. Today, I don't have to do that. In fact, I've sold off a lot of my auction catalogs because I don't need them. It's actually quicker for me to go onto the Newman Numismatic Portal and look an auction catalog up and find the lot within that digitized file, whatever you want to call it, than it is to go to the library and try to find a physical catalog. Yes, I love the physical catalogs. There's nothing better than leafing through an old catalog. But in terms of research, I don't need the catalogs anymore. There are some catalogs that I still need that aren't digitized on NNP, and that includes like all of the Goldberg catalogs and Heritage. Of course, they're proprietary, so they're keeping theirs off of the portal. But between the two of them, I can pretty much do whatever I need to do. Silver Ocean says regarding the YouTube auctions, he said, I like doing it even as a benefit to my subscribers. That's pretty nice, but it also allows me the opportunity to offer my poured silver to the community without excessive fees. That's a very good point, because selling on eBay, selling on whatnot is not free. You have to pay them a percentage. In the case of eBay, it's about, I think, 12 to 14% all in. On whatnot, it is more like 12%, but you have to consider those fees. That's a very good point. If you have your own live auction on your own channel on YouTube, you get to keep pretty much everything. Silver also says, the live experience also allows me to verbally respond in real time to viewers. I don't get that anywhere else. You would get that on Whatnot. Whatnot allows you to chat with your people, and in fact, they will tell you, do you have any silver dollars? Do you have any poured silver? And you can say, okay, well, let me just reach into my box here and grab that out for you. So you can actually sell things to people that you may not have put on your sale. And so you might sell more than you normally would just because you have the ability to chat with the customers and find out what they need. I can always redirect my stack collection. The live experience, okay, another benefit, Silver Ocean says, is it allows me the opportunity to redirect my stack collection with the proceeds. That's very good. Yep. Neil Robertson says, I think the Pittman collection was sold about 20 to 25 years ago. Have you seen Pittman coins start to reappear more frequently over time? Maybe the same question could be asked for Newman. Not really. I mean, the Pittman collection was a phenomenal collection of early U.S. coins, Canadian coins, and world coins. I actually was the auctioneer for part 3. That was his world coins, and that was back in 1998, I believe. Had just a wonderful collection, wonderful collection. And it has been well dispersed. You hardly ever see a world coin with a Pittman pedigree on it anymore. The U.S. coins, a little bit different story. They do sort of cycle through from time to time, and they do reappear on the market, but not that frequently. They've been pretty well reabsorbed into the market, or absorbed into the market. As far as the Newman coins go, same thing there. They were well distributed and they went to fairly strong hands. Most of the colonial coins that Newman had went to really serious hardcore collectors because he had some really incredible stuff that had not been seen for, well, since he bought it in the 1940s and 1950s. So it is, you'll see it in the US coins occasionally. Some of the Newman coins actually got downgraded. They were all presented in NGC holders when Heritage sold the collection, and many of those were downgraded. I know Bruce Moreland bought many of the, or several of the high grade bust dollars for his collection, and he had them crossed to PCGS because he had a registry set, and he accepted downgrades on several of the coins. It kind of really doesn't matter, when you have the finest known of something. Does it matter if it's a 65 or a 64? Not really. If you're buying something that is already 5 or 10 points better than anything else that ever existed, the grade is really moot. So, but you do see Newman coins that were occasionally downgraded to get into the PCGS holders. But neither Pittman nor Newman coins, if you go to a coin show, you will see them, but it's not like they're laying all over the place waiting to be picked up. Neil Robertson asks, I'm curious what a typical hold time is for a high-end coin. That's also a good question because it varies depending on who's putting the collection together. For instance, people that are working on registry sets, I've seen a lot of them where once they complete the collection, they sell the set. And they do that primarily because they usually have a lot of money invested in the collection. It becomes very difficult at a certain point to upgrade. So they will take these coins that they purchased over the last couple of years and then resell them. That's not, in general, a typical good strategy because if it's within the last 5 years that you've bought something, it's probably not going to do very well. If you've held it for 10, 15, 20 years, that is a much better strategy. And when you look at what Newman did and what Pittman did, they held their coins for decades. Same thing with Norweb, Eliasberg. Those are generational collections that brought tremendous leaps in price over what the people paid for them. I think someone actually did an analysis on the Pittman collection, and they did a comparison of what he paid to what they brought, and I think he has the record for the best increase in price of any collector. But that could also be said of Eliasberg, Norweb, Garrett, all these great collections that got sold many, many decades after they were put together. So to answer the question, what is a typical hold time? I would say, 10 years. 10 years is a good start. I mean, I know a lot of people get into situations where they're forced to sell sooner. Simpson, I think, had to sell his coin collection because of a divorce. But he did well because, he bought, phenomenal trophy coins, high-end condition census coins, and extremely rare patterns. So I think he's done very well overall. Another person that did very well is Harry Bass. If you look now at the coins that are being sold out of the ANA Museum collection display, they're all bringing huge money over what his stuff brought, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Let's see, Silver Struck is in the house. Good to see you. Silver Oceans, would you ever bring some of trophy coins to show off at a Long Beach Expo? I'd like to see more of your collection. I don't really have a collection per se. I do have coins that are, I don't want to call them museum, because if someone came along and paid me the money that I want for them, I would sell them. So I don't think there's any coin that I have that I wouldn't sell. But there are some coins that I really like that I've put back, and I think I have like a box of 20. And yeah, I would be happy to show you some trophy coins. And if we ever get together down here, happy to bring one or more and let you know what I have. Silverstruck asked about the Redfield collection. The Redfield collection, my thoughts on it is that pedigree worth the premium. The only time in my mind that the Redfield pedigree is of value is when you find one of the old Paramount Redfield holders. I think those are definitely worth a premium because they're an early prototype of what we know as slabs. It was the early encapsulation. And you'll also see some very interesting grades on those. You'll see MS-70 applied to a modern coin, like a Morgan dollar or something like that. That was an early adoption of the Sheldon coin grading scale. You got to remember the scale that we use today, the MS-70 or the 70-point grading scale, was started in 1948 by Dr. Sheldon, and it was applied to a really narrow area of numismatics. He basically looked at 1794 large cents and looked at the price difference comparison between the worst 1794 large cent and the best. And he found that the best one was worth 70 times what the worst one was. And that just happened to be at 1948. That was what the ratio was. The very best 1794 large cent cost 70 times what the worst one was. If he had done that comparison 5-10 years later, it might have been a 100-point scale. It might have been a 125-point scale. It might have been a 200-point scale. And if you did it today, it might be a 10,000-point scale if you're just basing it on the price comparison. Later on, many years later, people decided to say, okay, well, we're going to overlay the Sheldon coin grading scale onto the adjectival scale that we had at the time. Good, very good, fine, very fine, extra fine, unk. And they said, okay, we're going to follow Sheldon's grading scale and overlay it onto the adjectival scale. And that's how this came about. When it first was applied, you didn't have MS 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. You basically had, I think, if I remember correctly, it was just MS 64, maybe MS 67. I'm not really sure what it was, but it wasn't divided up the way it is today. That came later. If you look at early copies of the gray sheet, when the Sheldon scale was first adopted, it was only a couple of the points on the scale. Let's see here. Let's go back to the Redfield collection. Years ago, I did an interview with, I think his name was Bannon. It was a fellow who actually met and knew Redfield. Redfield lived in Vegas, and he collected silver dollars, and he collected bags of silver dollars. And when he died, was he killed? When he died, after his death, they went into his house, and in the basement were these bags of silver dollars. And he was a hoarder of sorts. He actually kept food down there, and there were some cans of canned peaches that exploded and blew up all over the silver dollars. So you actually see some silver dollars now that have been so-called juiced. They've acquired color and toning because of the peach juice, but also because they were in the bags, and the stuff that's on the outside of the bags, combines with the atmosphere, and you get this toning. Anyway, his collection, or his hoard of silver dollars, was broken up. And when you ask about the pedigree, there were so many Redfield coins that nowadays, first of all, it's almost impossible to attach the Redfield pedigree to a particular coin unless it came through Paramount and was actually put into one of their old Redfield holders. So if you ever see any of those, they're worth a premium. I like them. I put them away when I can, and I would recommend anybody buy them. I think they're only going to go up in value over the years. If you can find a coin with Redfield pedigree, that could be helpful, but it's not a pedigree that adds value like an Eliasberg or a Nora Webb or Garrett or any of the names that I mentioned earlier in the podcast or the live stream. Silver Ocean says, wasn't the Eliasberg collection the only ever completed full collection of U.S. coins? Yes and no. There were two coins that were missing. One of them was an 1866S $20 gold piece. And for some reason, Eliasberg just missed it. It wasn't a rare coin. He just missed it. And what the Bowers and Ruddy, who sold the collection back in the gold collection back in 1982, they purchased an 1866S that they could put into the collection to say that it was complete. Well, there was another coin that I discovered many years later, several years later, and they knew about it back when the Eliasberg coins were sold in 1996 and 1997. But look at the 1865 3-cent nickel. If you look at the listing in the Eliasberg catalog for that coin, what is there is not a regular issue 1865 3-cent nickel. It's a 1865 3-cent nickel pattern. It's not the regular issue coin. So it doesn't really count as a regular issue coin. So we can say that that coin was another one that he didn't have. So, depending on how picky you are, it's kind of like an asterisk on the collection. If you look at the 1865 3-cent nickel pattern, it looks really, really close to the one that was actually made for circulation. So it could have been an honest mistake. I'm going to give it to him. I'm still going to say that Eliasberg did what no one else has ever done before and what no one else may ever do again. Deloy Hansen is a collector who is trying to complete a collection just like Eliasberg did. And of course, he's taking it to today. Eliasberg quit collecting in the 50s, and there's been a lot of coins made since then, and Hansen has them all. Now, there are some classic rarities that he does not have, but he's going after them. So maybe someday he'll also be able to do that, and it'll be a really neat accomplishment if he's ever able to do it. So I applaud his efforts and encourage him and hope that he can do it, because that would be just a groundbreaking effort. Let's see, another question here. Neil Roberts says, what level of precision do you think the average professional grader could grade at? A quarter point, 1/10 of a point, with 90 to 95% confidence. Well, here's the deal about grading, and this is from my experience with PCGS as president of the coin grading division. There is nobody that can grade consistently at 100% or 95% or 90% or 85% or probably even 80. I mean, if world-class graders, 80 to 85%, I would say. What happens with the professional coin grading is when you have 3 different expert graders look at a coin, they reach a consensus. In other words, let's say if the first grader calls a coin an MS64, the second grader calls a coin an MS63, the third grader calls it an MS64. In general, when you have people agreeing that closely, and especially when two expert graders agree on an MS64, the confidence level jumps up greatly. And I don't want to say it approaches 100%, because as we all know, coins get graded, cracked out, regraded, and sometimes upgraded. So there is no such thing as 100% confidence in the grade of a coin. But for a grader to reach 80 to 85% consistently is really good, really, really good. Now, how good are they? Can they grade to a tenth of a point? Can they grade to a fourth of a point? If you look at the 70-point grading scale, you have 10 points between 60 and 70. And most people, most graders that have any kind of skill can find those 10 points. When you start going to half points or plus grades or things like that, it gets a little bit trickier, and it is harder for people to reach that high level of consistency when you start divvying the points up in halves. At a quarter point, I think it becomes extremely difficult, and a tenth of a point, I think is almost impossible. Now, when you're talking about a tenth of a point, are you talking about a 10-point grading scale or a 100-point grading scale? A 10-point grading scale, a tenth of a point is doable because they're already doing that. From a 9 to a 10, a 9.1, 9.2, those are all doable. If you're talking about a 100-point scale, a 1/10 of a point is nearly impossible. I just can't see it. I can't see it. Now, what we're trying to do, and what I tried to do, I think it was 2018, I came up with a 100-point coin grading scale that actually goes from 80 to 100. So that puts 20 points on the min state level. And that, again, is doable because you're talking about 20 points between 80 and 100. And in a 70-point scale, you're talking about 10 points between 60 and 70. But if you use your half points and plus points, then you're talking about 20 points between 60 and 70. So 20 points in the min state level is doable. Riley Dollin says, "Hi, Ron. Hope you are well. Thank you. I just found your channel. Thanks for sharing info earlier on Whatnot. Oh, good deal. Have been on the fence. We'll have to give it a try." Yeah, I like Whatnot so far. I mean, I've only done it for 2.5 weeks. And like I said, I've done 14 sales, but it is so easy. I had a sale last night or yesterday at 2 p.m. and I had all the labels and the packing list printed out in 15 minutes, got everything packaged up, and I had it taken to the post office today with a scan form. So I don't have to stand in line and have everybody, have every package scanned in. I mean, it's just, I love the platform so far. As far as how much you get for coins, I would say I'm making money, not a lot of money. And some coins I frankly get killed on, but other coins are just runaways. So it all kind of all works out. And that's the same thing I've felt about eBay over the years is you lose money on some coins, on a few coins. On most coins, you make money, and on a few coins, you have a runaway price. So it's worth it to continue. What I like about Whatnot is you can sell a ton of material very quickly and very easily. And so for that reason, I recommend it. And I think it's going to blow up. I think it's going to blow up. Silver Struck says, "Good point, Ron. 10-point grading scale versus the Sheldon scale." The one big thing about the Sheldon coin grading scale is it is very difficult to explain to a non-collector. If my kid came home with a 70 on his report card, he or she would be in trouble, right? When you say that the finest coin is a 70, people go, what do you mean 70? Why isn't it 100 or why isn't it 10? So you have to tell the story, all about Sheldon and how he came up with this grading scale. And, today it's so embedded in our system and, millions and millions of coins, tens of millions of coins have been graded using the 70-point scale that it's kind of difficult. Now, NGC came out recently with their NGC-X grading scale, which is a 10-point scale used for modern coins. And it'll be interesting to see how that is adopted or accepted by the market. I think it's a great move. I think it's a great move. I wish that people would adopt my 100-point scale, but that's a different baby. The 100-point scale that I proposed is an overlay and an extension of the Sheldon coin grading scale. You could always say we'll just do a straight mathematical conversion from 70 to 100. But when you do that, you get with these really funky grades. And you also get interference with the old scale versus the new. There's conflict. You have conflict between the old and the new. And you want to, if you come up with a new grading scale, it better be something that doesn't interfere with what's already out there, with those tens of millions of coins that have already been graded. So my scale did that, and it allowed you to have both. You could either have it graded under the Sheldon scale or under my 100-point coin grading scale. You could choose. You could go either way, and they're interchangeable. So it's not that big of a deal. But the 10-point grading scale, I think, is a good move because it makes it so much easier to explain to a collector. Neil Robertson asks, what is the, get a little sip of water here. What's your take on the wide variability I am always seeing on EAC grading? I've seen condition censuses with 15-point spreads on given grades from different sources. Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're talking about is the difference between EAC grading and like PCGS grading or NGC grading, what we call commercial grading. And probably the best instances of that are if you look at some of the Goldberg catalogs where they were selling copper coins in conjunction with Chris McCauley and Bob Grellman. Chris and Bob both come out of EAC, and they typically grade by EAC standards. But when you compare an EAC grade to a PCGS grade, they are worlds apart. Neil, you're right there. You can have a condition census with 15-point spreads on the same coin. And the reason for that is EAC grading is very, very conservative. They are less into details and more into surfaces. And that now they have their own published grading standard guide, and PCGS has its own grading standard guide, and they explain the differences. EAC grading is very conservative. If it is an XF coin with corrosion or some flaw, they are going to knock it really, really hard. PCGS might take a coin that has great details and might have a minor flaw, and they will put that in a straight grade holder. They might put that in a straight grade holder. They might not. They might put it in a details holder. But either way, you have this great disparity between the EAC grading and the so-called commercial grading. To me, it doesn't really matter as long as the coins are all ranked the same. When you look at a condition census of a particular coin, and a condition census is a list of the top 10 finest examples, if coin number 1 is the same with an EAC grade and a PCGS grade, fine. If 2 is the same as a 2, 3 is the same as a 3, God bless you. God bless you. But if number 1 is number 1 over here, and number 5 over here, and number 5 over here is number 1 over here, that's a little bit different issue. And that goes to consistency. The one nice thing about EAC grading is their condition census is something that has been established over many, many years. And it's been published. If you look at the Breen book on large cents, and you look at the Breen book on half cents, they have condition censuses in there that are published and well known, and pictures of the coins. So we know where the coins rank. We know exactly where they stand in each of the grading condition censuses. Now, the interesting point that I have seen over the years is that collectors who like the EAC grading standards will collect that way throughout their collecting career. And then when it comes time to sell, they have them graded by PCGS or NGC, and then they're sold that way. If you look at most of the great collections that have sold in recent years, the Walt Usack collection, the Alan Weinberg collection, Twin Leaf, E Pluribus Unum, they all get slabbed because that is the demand. The demand for graded coins is much greater in the commercial market than it is in the EAC market. The I don't know what the membership is in EAC. I'm pretty low in there. I think I'm EAC number 444, but that was from 1976. Their membership is vastly smaller than is the overall population of people that collect coins in slabs. So when people go to sell their collection, they get them graded because it's economically advantageous for them to do that, regardless of what you think about EAC grading or commercial grading. Almost invariably, they get them graded by the third-party grading companies before they're sold at auction. Neil asks, I think there are EAC standards, but then I will see different EAC experts grade differently nonetheless. That's possible. I mean, a fellow named Bill Noyes, he maintains one census. Del Bland, who is the late Del Bland, dearly departed, maintained a census that would differ occasionally with Bill Noyes. Noyes is, in my opinion, a very conservative grader. He if a coin has a flaw of any kind, he knocks it pretty severely. And there are other people in EAC that might not be so critical of a coin that has a defect. So, yeah, but it's true of the entire market. Everybody sees things differently. If we all looked at coins the same way, we would have a problem. There would be no differences in grading, and then there would be no difference in price. You got to remember, the value of coin is determined primarily by the grade. So if the higher the grade, the more valuable it's going to be. So there's always this pressure to push the grade. Especially, there's a saying that ownership adds 5 points to the grade of a coin. And that's primarily true. And the opposite is true. The converse is true, that if you are buying a coin, you're going to try to knock the grade. And that was one of the reasons why the coin grading services became so important. They eliminated that part of the transaction, that fight between the buyer and the seller about what the grade was. Because clearly, if the sellers disagreed on the grade, they're automatically going to disagree on the price. And what the grading services did was take that part of the transaction off the table. And now all the argument is about the price. Sure, you can complain about the grade of the coin in the holder, but that's sort of like an exercise in futility, because if 50 people accept the grade on a PCGS holder and they're willing to pay consistently similar money for it, who are you to say that they're wrong? You may be right, but you may be wrong at the same time. Silverstruck, you were born in 1976. I wish I was as young as you are. Silverstruck, excellent view on grading and coin values. Yep, that is the big issue in the market. Silver Ocean's EAC grading is a whole different beast. That is absolutely true. And again, go to an old Goldberg auction catalog. They're all online on their website, goldbergcoins.com, and go to any heritage auction, and you'll see that they also have a commercial grade, a PCGS grade, and they'll say we have an EAC grade. The EAC grade is primarily assigned by Mark Borchardt, who is a really good friend, old-time friend, one of the first people I met in the industry. And in fact, I joined EAC many years ago. So because I started collecting half cents in the early '70s, so I totally understand the differences between the two systems. And Mark is a very good grader, and he is an EAC grading adherent. I guess I would say. I think he might admit that he is. And so whenever Heritage offers copper coins, you'll see a commercial grade, the slab grade, and then you'll have an EAC grade. And that's primarily, I think, attributed by Mark, because he knows EAC grading inside and out. He's a really great numismatist and a great researcher. But yes, EAC grading is a whole different beast. I cannot believe that it's 6:55. We've blown through almost an hour, and it seems like it just started. So, Silver Oceans, yeah, if you're a silver stacker, there's not much place for you in EAC. They are copper stackers. They stack half cents and large cents. Really great bunch of people. If you ever get a chance to go to one of their conventions, I think they started having it in conjunction with the John Reich Society, which focuses on early drape bust and cap bust coins. So there's a little bit of a joint effort between those, but wonderful people, just absolutely fabulous people, and they are willing to share their knowledge. And they what's really neat is they have these things called whist matches. A whist match is when collectors get together and they each bring their best coin of a particular die variety, and they'll put them on a felt tray, and they'll put them side by side, and they'll let other people judge which ones they think are the best. And then they'll score them. And then at the end of the day, they'll tally up the scores and see who had the best overall collection. And let me tell you something. You will see coins that you will never see anywhere else in the world. For instance, when Tettenhorst was collecting half cents, he would participate in these whist matches, or what he called half cent happenings, where they would focus on a particular die variety. You would see, Mint State 1793 half cents, Mint State 1811. I mean, you name it. 1796, no pole, with pole, just unbelievable, extremely valuable coins, and they're there just just like you and I comparing cheap mercury dimes. It's just a phenomenal experience. The first EAC convention I went to, I think, was in '76 in New York, and Ted Nafsker was there, and of course he was the guy that put together the finest collection of large cent ever assembled. And then Doug Smith was there. He was a competitor, and they were comparing large cents from 1816 to 1834, I think it was. And they're pulling coins out. And I mean, I was a fairly young guy at that time. I was 23 years old, and I was just dumbstruck, awestruck. I mean, just to see these famous collectors and incredible coins. That's where I met Walter Breen for the first time. Just great stories. I mean, I have just such wonderful stories and memories from those experiences. So if you ever get to an EAC convention, by all means, try to go. This year, as Silver Oceans points out, the convention is in Portland. I'm not sure I really want to go to Portland, but just because of the homeless issues that they're having up there. But it's still going to be a great convention. And if you want to live some of the experiences that I just mentioned, it would be a good opportunity. So any other questions? Ask them right now, because I'm going to shut this down here pretty soon. Again, I will have an auction on Sunday night, 6 p.m. California time, on Whatnot. So please go there and just look for RGRC. It's Ron Guth Rare Coins, but it's under RGRC. And I hope that you can be there and experience the Whatnot venue and their platform. Neil says or asks, are you aware of any generational collections of German coins that have sold? Not here in America. Not here in America. Of the collections that I can think of in Germany, the Schaff collection of U.S. Of German pattern coins sold in I guess it was the 1980s, and that was a phenomenal collection. That was, I don't know about generational, but it was, it was similar to a name collection over here. And then I'm trying to think of any others that I would not, but if I think of anybody, I'll put it in the comments below. Riley, thanks for being here. Thanks to all of you for attending. I will be here next Wednesday night for another live stream. I'm going to try to be on here every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. California time. Don't forget to set your clocks on Saturday night. We're going to be springing forward. Okay, so don't forget to do that. So we'll see a little bit more sunlight at the next time you see me. So this window here to my left will actually probably have some sunshine in it, which will be really nice. So anyway, thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.